Hey everyone, how are you all doing tonight? Thank you for joining me here at Jeremiah Dreams. I'm really excited about the project that we're going to be working on tonight. I've thought about it all day long, couldn't get it off my mind, and found myself just doodling and sketching. So I'm super excited about this. So please come on in and say hello. Let me know if you're here in the comments. And if you're catching this on the replay, I would love to hear from you in the comments, even if you're catching the replay. I'm always interested to know where my watchers are, and if you let me know where you're watching from, I'm always very interested. It's just incredible how the internet and social media have made our world just so much smaller and reachable. It's just crazy. But I am super excited to be here tonight and bring to you a new project. If you follow me at all, you know that I've recently released a collection of angel ornaments called the Heavenly Messengers Collection. And so we're going to kind of do a spin on that tonight. And I hope to really bring some really neat things to you and maybe give you some inspiration on what you may can create for your own decor and gifts. So let's just get right down to it and let me know how the weather is where you are, because I'm telling you, here in Huntsville, Alabama, it is hot and humid and rainy. And it makes my hair kind of frizz up. So I can't, I have kind of long hair and it has to be up right now when it's like this. I can't handle it. So let me turn you on down to my surface. Hold on just a little minute and there we go. So tonight we're going to do our project on a wood canvas. I love these wood canvases. I get these on Amazon, and you'll have to check out my storefront. I can't remember if I put that in my description, but if not, I'll add it to the comments a little bit later. But I love these little wood canvases. They are, let me measure so you have an idea. Yeah, they are 6 by 6, and they just are perfect for doing shelf sitters or just little gifts. But it just felt like the right size to start our project. I'm going to start off with some Waverly Chalk mineral paint. The color is mineral. And we're just going to coat this. Oh, I need to shake it up some more. This is a brand new bottle, and I've been shaking, 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 but apparently it wasn't quite enough. So give me 1 second. I'm going to try to shake this up some more. It just has settled from, I had gone through an entire bottle. And another color I like to use is French linen. Um, but I've been using that on my ornaments. So this is another very similar color. If I have to, we'll just get a dowel rod or something and stir it up a little bit. Maybe that will be enough. So we're just going to put a base coat down. I prefer to use chalk paint when it comes to wood surfaces because it gives us a nice surface. It helps the regular acrylic paints that we're going to be using. It helps them to adhere to the wood. It doesn't just soak all right down into the wood. So you want to use something that's going to be a good primary on the wood surfaces if you choose to do that. But we're going to do something that with our angel that is going to be leaning us toward fall. And I have a sweet idea. And we're going to be doing a little different approach to the wings than what I typically do for my angel ornaments. Let me just get, and I'm not going to worry with painting the sides right now because I want this to get nice and dry on top, and then I can come back and paint the sides, and I'm sure I will just decide to paint the sides with the same mineral color. It's just a nice neutral color that will complement all that's going on. I don't want to do a different color. If I did a different color, I would probably do a black or maybe a gold, like a shiny gold, or even do like a white and add the gold on top of it to give it some shimmer. But right now, my plan is once we get this finished, it will just be the same neutral mineral color that I'm doing right now on this surface. I'm just kind of evening out those strokes, and we're going to get this dry. Hold on, let's get this nice and dry using my little Ranger heat tool. I really like using this. I have had to use the um, blow dryers and all that in the past, They're just so loud. So this is a nice, quiet little tool. I'm just kind of touching up where as it dries, I can kind of see where we need just a little more added in. A lot of this is going to be covered up with our angels, so I'm not too worried. Um, not too worried about any imperfections in this initial surface. And once I get this dry, we're going to sketch out what we want to do with our angel, and we're going to give her a twist of fall. So while we're drying this, I'll just show you real quick. I have a couple of the ornaments um, from my collection. I'll just show you real quick. This is the, sorry, I got distracted. This is one of the ornaments that she's holding her little songbook titled Gloria. She's in the Heavenly Messengers collection. And then I have this sweet little ornament, and she's holding a cardinal, and it's the remembrance ornament that's in that same collection. This is almost dry. We've about got this dry, so bear with me. Okay. My Heavenly Collection series is available in my Etsy shop, and the Etsy link is in the description. All right. So, what I like to use, one of my favorite tools, is this friction pen by Pilot. It allows me to do sketches and be imperfect because when I apply heat, hey, Luann, how are you, sweet friend? Can you hear me okay? Is the sound good? Would you please let me know? Um, this tool gives a lot of forgiveness. I gotta turn my fan on. These lights are heating up. I meant to do that before I started. Because whenever I get ready to apply and dry, the ink marks will go away. So we're going to just kind of sketch in what I kind of think. And usually my sketches are smaller because I do these angels on the ornaments. So I'm trying to keep in mind, let's go bigger, but let's don't go too big. And then I'm just going to kind of put in where I want the top of her wings to be, just sketching it on. And then I'm going to kind of add her little neck. And I like to do a ruffled collar on them. And we're just going to kind of bring her shoulders out and down. Kind of like so. And we're going to just kind of sketch in right now. Oh, good. Thank you, Luann. I appreciate that, girl. Do you? Oh, my goodness. Which one do you have, Luann? I don't remember. So please remind me, which one do you have from last year? So we're going to put in her arms a pumpkin. And I'm just going to kind of, this is just sketching, okay? And I want it to kind of be, and we're going to have part of her sleeve is going to cover up part of this because it's like she's embracing it, okay? And so we're going to have the stem kind of come in from the side, and our little indentions, we'll be sure to include those and put some curly vines on it too. So it's going to look a little like this, like she's got it right in the crook of her arm. We're going to have her little hand kind of coming around and helping her holding. And we'll improve that whenever we get to that point. And then I would like to have her other hand just kind of resting on it. Kind of going with the shape. Hands are hard, y'all. I have found them to be hard. All right, we'll improve her shoulders. We don't want her to look too boxy, but these are just sketches. Okay. Here we go. We'll have the little. All right, so that's going to give us now we're going to do some really neat things with the wings as well. We're going to do some texturing, and we're going to do some variegation on it. This is going to be a little bit different of an angel. All right, let me get my other brushes I just used clean real quick and get them out of the way because we're going to start with putting in some of the flesh tones. We're going to start on her face. Let's see, where's the colors I like to use? So I'm going to, nope, that's not it. Hold on. Here we go. I knew there was one. This is Deco Art. This is a natural buff color. I like to use this for a skin tone. Let me see if I can pull my palette over a little bit too so you can kind of see. I'm just going to put a little bit of this on here and then we're going to pull in some brown. And I'm going to just use, this is an Anita's acrylic paint. I've just had these on hand forever, but this is a woody smoke color and I have not been able to find Anita's. I don't know if they're just out of business or what's happened with them, but I have a lot of the paints. I just liked the consistency of them. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to double load my brush and I'm going to get more of that buff color than the brown. So I'm going to load it up pretty good and we're just going to blend. Okay. And we're going to do, this is going to help us get a nice shadow on her face and we'll refine this. Don't worry about it looking too drastic, too stark right now. We're just going to blend it out. Keeping that darker color on the outside for shadow. I'm just continuing to blend. This does not have to be perfect either, because there's a lot of other things that are going to come into play here. I'm going to get a little more of this buff color, this skin tone right through here. I want just a little more of the dark right through that chin area. I'm just blending out. Kind of like so. And then I'm going to come back in with a little more buff color. You got the Carol or, oh, and a cardinal. Oh, that is so neat. That's okay that you don't remember the name. I can envision which ones you have now. I'm glad you love them. Just pulling in more buff and blending it. We're going to add in her hair, so a lot of that imperfection right there is going to work itself out. I'm going to double load, and we're going to put in her little neckline, again using kind of the same technique of coming right up under that chin, and we're doing the buff and the woody smoke color. It's going to give us a nice shadow, and a lot of that imperfection there is going to be covered up. I'm just going to kind of blend a little bit through here, just for my OCD. Okay. All right. Now we're going to lay in a base for the wings, and then we're going to start putting in hair. And what I like to use for the wings, we're going to use some Master's Touch Titanium White. And we're just putting in a foundation color of the wings. I'm going to ease around the head and let my brush do a lot of the work there. I love the Master's Touch paints. They're just a great color blocker. You can thin them down, you can thicken them up. There's just a lot of versatility with the Master's Touch paints. Again, this is just a foundation layer. and we're going to be applying a lot of texture in this area. I'm going to turn this around just because I'm right-handed and I can get to it a little easier. Just making my way around her face. And again, if you're just joining, I'm using a 6x6 wood canvas. These are amazing surfaces. I just get mine from Amazon. They make great little shelf sitters, adding just a little pop of decor, seasonal or whatever. They don't take a lot of room and just give a sweet little touch. Okay, so that's giving us a little foundation. While that is drying, I'm going to go ahead and base in her gown. We are not going to need a second coat because we're going to add texture in these areas of the wings. So I've gotten let me probably need a little bit more. We're going to go ahead and I'm going to be very careful and come around the pumpkin. I don't want to base it too much with the white. And I'm coming right up to my lines just so that I can know where they are. I'm just going to kind of go around that neck and we're going to come back and add that ruffle. To me, our angel girls, they just need a ruffle collar. Just keeping in mind where my sketch lines are. And I'm being careful to go around the hands. And as I said before, a lot of these details will be worked out when we get to that stage. So I think it's really important to put in this foundation layer where we're going to be putting the texture so that if you have any gaps, it kind of compensates for any imperfections. Okay, so let's work on her hair. And I like to base it in with a dark color. I like to work darks to lights. We probably need to dry this real quick. Let's do that. And I may lose some of my ink marks. So you're going to see what I'm talking about with using that friction pen. I'm trying to stay away from that area because I don't really want to lose that. But I need to get this a little dry, especially around the head. So usually I paint my angels on these little wood rounds for my ornaments like this. But this is the first time I've done an angel on a 6x6 wood canvas. And I think it's going to make a really beautiful piece. Okay, so I'm going to get a really dark brown. This is burnt umber, and we're going to base in her hair with some burnt umber. I'm just using my flat brush still. And I'm using the very tip chisel part, and I'm just going to kind of go around her little face. And I like the side part. And then I'm going to come around and get the top area. And bring this up just a little more, just a little bit higher because I want to indent where the part is. I'm just going to kind of layer in. Let's bring this up a little more, get a little more arch there. Again, I'm using just the very tip chisel part. We're just spacing in her hair. And then I'm going to use just the corner of my flat brush, and we're going to give her a updo. And I'm just going to gently put in rows of just little C shapes, the letter C shapes, and kind of pyramid them on there. Just kind of like so. And that will make more sense too as we continue on with details and such. Okay. The next thing I like to do is work in the lighter tones because I like, and honestly, I'm just using that same buff color that we used for her shirt. I'm just using a round brush, and we're just going to put in streaks for the highlights. I'm trying to be careful, and this is a tricky part, how much pressure I use. The more pressure you apply to the brush, the more the bristles fan out and make your lines wider. But, if that happens to you, just add some dark, cover it up. I've had to do that many times. It just wasn't giving me the lines that I was looking for, and had to just kind of cover it up and start again, and even downsize the size brush you use. Then I'm going to come up into her updo and add highlights, making those letter C shapes. Okay. Now, let's add in a mid-tone, and I'm going to use the same color that I used for the shading. I'm going to go down a size or two. I don't even know what size this is. It doesn't tell me. I think it's a size 3. Size 3 round brush, maybe. I could just call it my detail brush. We're going to come in and we're going to add more tone into her hair. It's going to subdue the highlights that are important in getting the color hair that we want, but it's not going to look as, it's almost like when you go get your hair done and you do low lights, that kind of effect. When I started designing my angels, I was going for kind of that messy bun look that's so popular that I wear, my daughter wears, so many young women wear now, and kind of modernize her a little bit. See how that all works together with the layers. It's really important to work in terms of layers. We're just kind of framing her face a little. And let's just come up here, and we're not going to cover up everything we've done with the highlights, but we're just complementing it just like we've done in her hair. Because we still need, think in terms of how light strikes everything. But we have those dark tones that from the background that kind of help give that depth as well. Okay. Now that this is kind of dried, she does need another coat in her gown. So I'm just going to pick up some more of this titanium white, and we're just going to focus on her gown right now. And we're still just doing a rounded neckline for now. I'm just kind of working it in around her little hands. We've got some nice details coming up. That's going to help this gown really, really sing, so to speak. Just trying to get a nice coat in here. Okay, now we're going to put in her ruffled collar. So I've probably got too much. I need to kind of offload a little bit. So I'm going to use that chisel, and we're going to hold it straight up and down. And then we're going to kind of brush away the bottom there. And there's some details we're going to put in there. It's going to help enhance that even more. I'm just adding a little second coat there. Just working out some of those strokes. Okay. Getting my brush clean. All right, let's get this nice and dry. My marks are disappearing from my pumpkin, so we may not dry it fully because I don't want to lose all of my sketch marks. All right, so we're going to do some pretty kind of a foundation dark color for the pumpkin. I'm actually going to start with a terracotta color. It makes a great pumpkin color. It gives some nice depth. Get a little bit of that out on my palette. I'm going to use a smaller flat brush. I'm not sure what size this is. It's small, very narrow. We're going to base it in with that. If I had to guess, it's probably a size 2 or 3. I'll turn this a little bit just so I can get to a little better. And we're just basing this in. The Master Touch, the titanium white, is pretty, it's still sticky, so I'm having to really be careful. Also, when you paint, you want to think about what, especially with acrylic. Watercolor is different. But with acrylic, you want to think about what is in the back. I paint from the farthest object or color, the darkest and the farthest, and work my way forward to the closer and lighter colors. Okay. Let's take, while this is wet, I'm going to get my detail brush over here. Let's just work in some of these lines that we had kind of sketched in. I can't see them any longer, but I kind of remember. And I'm going to pull in a dry brush. Just to kind of diminish some of those lines a little bit. Just kind of blending it out. All right. And then for the stem, we're going to go ahead and use this same burnt umber. I'm just putting some little pointy areas there. We'll add more detail to that as well. And we'll add some highlights to this. So while that's still wet, I'm going to pull in this lighter color. We're going to add just some highlight to the upper part and to that stem end. Let's go ahead and pick up a little bit of our buff that we use for her face. Add a little more highlight. It's just going to blend right into that brown, but it's going to give us that lighter tone we're looking for. Pick up a little more burnt umber and blend back into it so it's just not so heavy with that lighter highlight. I didn't want it to be super wide. A little more highlight through here. You have to be very careful. Okay. And we'll let this dry and we'll come back and add a little bit more to that. Let's go ahead and add in for her hands. Still going to use my detail brush, that buff color. And I'm being very gentle. And I want her hand to curve with the pumpkin. I'm even going to add a little thumb, I think. I'm being very gentle. So I'm not entirely sure how I want to shape it. And then we're going to come in with a curve for the bottom hand. We're going to put a little thumb right through here. We may have to do some correcting through there. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to go ahead and take some titanium white and kind of shave down that hand. It's just a little wider through there than I want. And then we'll add some shadow in there. And then I'm going to shave down that thumb a little. I'm just going to bring in some of that terracotta. And you just have to think in terms of negative space. Okay, and then I'm going to work on this one a little. Just give it a little extra shaping right there. Okay. Now, one of the other things we're going to do is bring in some gray, and we're going to add some detail to her gown that's going to help enhance some of the things that are going on there. I don't want it to be as dark. The color that I use is Timeless Gray by Apple Barrel. So I'm actually going to take a little bit of this gray and mix it with the titanium white to soften it up quite a bit. And that's just going to give us just the right shade. I'm going to add a little water to it, just bringing over some water from with my brush from my little dry clean cut, not dry, my clean jar. Okay. Also helps to thin that down a little. It dries in these lights. All right, so now we're going to kind of work on, and it's better to, with this part, it's better to start a little light and go a little darker. So it's that hole, armhole. I'm just going to add a little more darker gray blending in. Sometimes you have to kind of see how the paint is going to react. Okay, let's get this one done. You hear my little dog in the background. He's my sidekick. He's a mini schnauzer, Mr. Baxter boy. He has to make his little nest over here. Baxter's, that's good, buddy. He'll just scratch and scratch. See, he's still scratching, trying to make his little nest. Okay, so I'm going to take some of residual color I have on this brush. We're just going to kind of outline her arm. I'll pick up a little titanium white and soften this so that it blends and makes more of a shadow effect instead of such a harsh line. And then I'd like to do that right over here on this upper part of her sleeve. And even around the pumpkin, adding a little shadow effect. I'll add a little darker gray right up against the pumpkin. Pick up a little titanium white just to kind of tone down where it was just on the edge of my brush. Let's add just a little indentation in her sleeve for the bend of her arm. Pulling in more titanium white just to help blend. Okay. She's coming along. All right. So one of the other things I like to do is add some shadow into the collar area to help promote those folds. So I'm just envisioning the highs and lows of that, where it indents inward and what is more outward. I'm keeping this pretty light. I don't want it to be super dark. I'm gonna pick up some titanium white and kind of round it off. May have to let it dry and then kind of work on that a little bit, but it may have to dry a little bit and then we'll improve on that too. All right. So we're in a pretty good place. Before we add a lot more detail to this part of her, we're going to work on our wings. And we're going to use the Master's Touch paint in titanium white. And we're going to start laying in that texture. Now, I have to turn this around. And I'm going to be working from the bottom up. So I've got my round brush. I'm going to load up my brush pretty good. And we're just going to press and lift and begin to add the feathers in the wing. Now this takes some time. So you don't want to rush through this part. And when I load up my brush, I can only get just a couple. Right there, I had a little too much. Couple of little feathers done because you really want that fullness, that texture. You want them to overlap. And I've had before, I think humidity makes a difference as well. I've had it before where after I've laid in my texture, the as the paint would dry, it seemed to kind of not flatten, it just kind of settled maybe. And I would have to come in and add another layer. So you can do other things to make your paint thicker, and you can give that a try. This has worked for me. This is my preference. This Master's Touch paint has a nice thickness about it, and it gives me that ridge that I'm looking for the texture. Jeannie, how are you, sweet friend? We're doing a little fall themed angel. Now, after I get all this laid in, and this can take a little bit of time, and I'm trying to go a little faster than I normally do. And we may just do one wing so you can kind of see what I'm thinking. I'm going to do her wings in variegated metallic to kind of help enhance that fall theme. But this is the foundation first. We've got to get sort of a foundation laid in. And to be honest with you, we may have to come back and do a part two because it really needs to set up. But we're going to see what we can do to give that variegated look. See, I'm starting to, in my hurriedness, I'm going faster and my wing effect is being more, I don't know how to explain it, larger instead of small. Master's Touch is your favorite? Yes. I know that there's a lot of people that like the Liquitex. I honestly, I haven't tried the Liquitex yet just because I started out with Master Touch. I do want to try the Liquitex. But I just haven't yet. I'm having to use just kind of what I have. But I've just been so impressed. And I've tried even their heavy body paints. This is not a heavy body paint. This is just their um, regular Master's Touch in the tube. And it has worked great for me for the texture. You just have to be sure to apply a generous amount. Now, as we come around her body, I am trying to outline with the texture and have the direction coming along with her. As we get over here to the hair, I'm being very careful. For this to work the way I want it to, it doesn't work to put in the texture and then her hair because then her hair would look bumpy. And I don't want that look. Can everybody see okay? I want to see if you can see if there's a glare because this Master's Touch paint is pretty glossy. Let me see if I can bring you down just a little and maybe you can see a little better the detail that we're putting in. We're getting some shadow because we're coming in so close. But maybe this will help. We can always raise it back up. So I'm really just touching and lifting. I don't know about you all, but I guess because it's just so hot here in Alabama, it's hard to think about cooler temperatures, but I know it's going to be here before we know it. School is about to start, and it seems like not long after school starts. I thought the other day, I guess I just need to have my son in law get my Christmas decorations out of the attic because it is going to be here before we know it. And we've got a new baby coming in the next month. Um, there's just a lot of family stuff going on in my life. And I'm thinking I probably need to think ahead. So tell me in the comments, when do you start decorating for Christmas? Oh, you like it's not as glossy as Master's Touch. That's good to know, Jeannie. Thank you so much. It's peaceful to watch. Well, girl, I appreciate that. I hope to give you a soothing way to complete your week and get ready for the new week ahead. You just have to be patient. I think that so many times we want to hurry through a project and get to the end result. But the truth of the matter is, it is a journey many times in working it out. To do something that gives such great satisfaction, a lot of times just takes time, and you have to just be patient with yourself. I am also interested in starting a practice book where I just experiment and try new things and ideas. Um, and I've been watching some other artists who do that, and I'm like, I need to do that. I need to do a daily practice of some sort. Um, I need to put together. I've thought about buying a booklet, but I may just take some of my watercolor papers and create my own and bind it. I've got a lot of interest in bookbinding as well. Just haven't done it. Painting is like life. We need to take our time on the journey. Exactly. Exactly. So true. We have such a rush and hurry world that I think we miss out on a lot of blessings and goodness that life has to offer. What is that old saying? Stop and smell the roses. I think that's super important. Also, I think after a while, I can tell that the strokes change because a lot of paint builds up on my brush. So before I start on the next wing, I would definitely clean my brush and begin fresh. We're almost done with this one, and we can start adding in some interesting colors because I really want to make her wings vibrant for fall. And I'll show you the colors I have in mind. Now, as I come near the top of the wing, I usually turn it and I begin layering that top edge. And I don't want it to be perfect. I want that imperfected line across the top because that just adds to the believability of the feathers of her wing. Okay, so that's what she looks like right now. Oh, thank you, Jeannie. Okay, so this is very wet. I'm going to show you what I have in mind. So I have, let me just kind of pull this out of the way real quick. I see in my mind's eye, I see a progression of these colors. These are metallics. I have rose gold. I have a gold. This is 24 karat. This is a paint, pixie paint. It's a chalk paint blend. I have copper. And in my mind, I see this kind of a progression going from light, and really these two may be all I need. Um, I've been kind of thinking about how to do this. She's going to have a crown on that's going to be gold, and I'm going to use liquid gold leaf. I'll show you. I have that that I like to use there for their crowns. This is classic gold and liquid leaf. Um, Gold may not really work. We may have to do this to get that nice variegated look. We may do some blending. Okay, let's just see what we got. I think this could be really pretty. So let's pull her back over here, and I'm going to try to keep her wings out of the shadow of the camera. I think it's casting a shadow. All right. I'm going to start with the rose gold first. Shake it up a little bit. Pull her over just a little so maybe you can also see my palette. And I'm going to actually take some titanium white and we're going to kind of blend it with this a little bit to get, I want a color that's going to kind of bridge between the two, but I want that shimmer. And I have another product that we'll use to add more shimmer, but kind of coming in here, see, we're getting an in-between color, and that's what I'm going for the variegation. So in my mind's eye, she's coming from white and coming down to darker colors. So I'm going to turn her back around again, and we're going to add some rose gold through here. Tell you, I may need to kind of reverse my approach as I think about this. Let me go ahead and finish putting this on of what I've mixed, and then we're going to kind of take a little reversal approach here. Okay, I'm going to clean my brush. We're going to start with our darkest color, which is going to be this antique copper. It's a pretty dark color, and that's good. We're going to go down here in the bottom area. And we're just layering in along with the white we've already added or used as our surface. I'm trying to be gentle so that I can use some of the texture that's already been laid down. Now I'm going to take some of this copper and I want to blend it with some of the rose gold so that I can get a marriage between those colors as we progress. Something like this. We are laying this down pretty thick. Mixing a little more. Can you see the change in color as we move up? And I'm okay with some of that titanium white showing through because that's giving us highlights. Good. Thank you, Jeannie. I want to be sure. I'm never sure on camera what you're able to see, so that's very helpful. Thank you very much. Okay, now we're going to start going into just the pure rose gold. So you have to really load up your brush and be gentle about how you're laying it in. And I'm trying to not compromise the texture that I've already laid in. Because really, ideally, you would want this to dry well and cure overnight before adding in these colors so that it would just keep the lifts in the paint that you lay in. But this is working okay. And we're going to change over here in just a second. To that lighter color. So we're going to pick up some titanium white and blend with our rose gold. laying in that paint very thick. Oh, I didn't see your question in time, did I? I'm going to do a little more of this tone and then I'm going to lighten it just a little more so we get an even softer shade. And then the white will be on the very, very top. So this is going to be just a very blush tone that we're coming in with next that will lead right into that titanium white. So if you find this inspiring and interesting, I would love for you to click that subscribe button and share this with your friends, because I would love to inspire you to try this yourself. But look at that variegation. That's exactly what I was going for. Let's add a little more just pure titanium white up here just to help blend from that soft rose gold. And just making these details just a little smaller, building on that texture. Let's go ahead and just pull it around. So I think I want to kind of blend in these colors a little bit. Pulling in, just helping that not to be such a stark line of change. Bring a little bit of that rose gold up and make it irregular. The paint is very thick, but it will cure. It will need at least overnight, maybe 24 hours. So let me turn her back around so you can kind of see full on. Let me raise it up a little bit too. Kind of what we have. Isn't that pretty? Oh my goodness. That turned out way prettier than I thought it would. I do want to come down here. Let me clean my brush. I want to add a little more of the copper to this edge. Oh, I really, really love it. Now, that has to dry, okay? So let's add a little highlight. I'm going to pull in just a little highlight to this pumpkin. Let's see, that's the terracotta. I don't want that. I want, this is buttered yam. I really love this. It complements the terracotta so well. And we're going to just pull in a little bit of it. brighten up our pumpkin a little bit. And as like I'm putting this buttered yam right in the middle, I'm gonna pick up some terracotta and blend right into it. Taking it one section at a time. And it gives that illusion of the highs and lows of the pumpkin. Almost doing like a triangle there. Bringing in terracotta to blend into it. Just kind of going back and forth between the buttered yam and the terracotta. So we have that variation there. We need to do some shadow work on her hands. Again, let's get a little bit of this woody smoke to kind of blend into our pumpkin where she's touching it. And I'm just kind of pulling that up into that terracotta. So we have a nice shadow and depth. We kind of need the same right along this edge where it's tucked into her arm. So I just kind of laid in a layer of that woody smoke and just pulling it up into that terracotta. Let me clean my brush. You too, Luann. Thank you for being here. Just pulling a little bit of shadow into her hand. So we're just going to lay that line of shadow in, and then we're going to come and overlay it with some more buff. All these little details go a long way. Okay. Oh, I love her. You guys, we've been on here for an hour. What I may have to do, because I really want to add some more details, we have our crown to do. What if we got together again next Sunday night? We finish her because there's a lot more. We need to do the other wing. We need to do her crown. We need to do details to the pumpkin that really kind of pull it together for fall. So if you guys would be all right with that, let's come back next Sunday night and let's finish her up because she is gorgeous. There's some cleanup things we need to do to kind of tidy her up. Let me just show you, for example, We need to come along her outline here with some titanium white and improve this edge just like that. Things like that that just are important to the believability of our sweet angel. So, I am live every Sunday evening at 6 p.m. So let's come together again and finish her up. I think she's off to a beautiful start. And it probably won't take an hour for us to finish her next week, but let's do that. Okay, let me just come back on screen here. But I just want to say thank you for being with me tonight. I hope that you'll come again and watch for the notification for when I'm live. I will be live next Sunday night at 6 p.m. Central Time, and just plan to join me. But I think this is a beautiful project. Thank you all. Have a wonderful week, and I'll see you all very soon. Good night.